I would like to introduce Nico Fisher, Carissa Tang, and Christian Doe.
Good evening, Supervisor Ellenberg, community leaders, and neighbors. I'm Nico Fisher, co-chair of the Youth Task Force. I represent District 4, and I am a senior at Santa Clara High School.
I'm Carissa Tang. I represent District 3, and I'm a senior at the King's Academy.
Together, we serve on the Santa Clara County Youth Task Force, a commission that advises the Board of Supervisors on the issues that shape our lives and helps to ensure that the county's priorities reflect the reality of the 400,000 young people who call this place home. When people think of Santa Clara County, they might picture our incredible weather, our booming tech industry, our diversity, and our thriving local businesses. But for those 400,000 young people, we think of home. It's where we've grown up. It's a land of radical possibility. We've witnessed some of the greatest innovations and movements that have reshaped American culture. This is the home of both lowriders and of Steve Jobs. That duality, innovation and heritage born from hard work and struggle, that's our legacy, and it's something special.
But to grow up in Santa Clara County today is also to navigate a profound contradiction. We're surrounded by incredible wealth, yet we see our neighbors struggling to afford housing in one of the most expensive regions on earth. According to the Santa Clara County Office of Supportive Housing's 2025 point-in-time count, 349 young people under 25 are currently unhoused or living in shelters right here in our county. This contradiction follows us into our schools. We're home to some of the best schools in California, yet beneath those high test scores lie stark disparities in student scores, depending on your zip code. For many of us, the student experience is defined by intense competition and impossibly high expectations, where innovation is the requirement and perfection is the baseline. This has fueled a mental health crisis among young people who feel trapped in a race with no finish line. We're more than future workers in our economy. We're individuals who need emotional support, equitable resources, and a community that values our well-being as much as our achievement. Being a young person in Santa Clara County today can be challenging, especially for our most vulnerable.
While these challenges are real, they're not the whole story. Young people are leading the way forward in District 4, and we want to highlight 3 areas where that leadership is happening right now. First, within local government itself. We at the Youth Task Force are just one of many youth organizations in our community. Almost every municipality in the county, spanning from Gilroy to East San Jose, Milpitas, Santa Clara, and Los Altos, has a dedicated youth commission where young people advise their local councils on real policy. These organizations help prove every day that young people bring the research, passion, and the lived experience needed to tackle complex community issues. So here's our call to leaders in the room today. Don't just have youth in the room, center them, support them, and treat them as essential partners in governance. We're not asking for a seat at the table as a favor. Our perspective is a vital component of good governance and healthy civic life.
Second, young people are leading through powerful nonprofit organizing. Take the Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action Group, or SVYCA. Right here in District 4, they're changing the landscape of local policy. In Campbell, SVYCA members have met directly with Mayor Sergio Lopez and Environmental Program Manager Tiffany Hudson, presenting in-depth research on the Make Polluters Pay bill and securing a commitment for a letter of support. They're currently reviewing the draft Campbell Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, providing detailed feedback to ensure its implementation is both bold and effective. In Santa Clara, SVYCA youth are advocating for safer bike lanes to promote green transportation, partnering with public libraries to host climate literacy events, and continuing their Green Careers podcast to show peers that activism and tech can work together for a sustainable future. They're even working to bring AP Environmental Science to Kathleen McDonald High School, ensuring students have the academic tools to match their passion for the planet. SVYCA shows that youth in District 4 are not waiting for the future to cause change. In fact, they cause change every day.
Third, the bold advocacy of students standing up for what's right. We saw this earlier this year at McDonald High School in northern Santa Clara, where students organized a powerful walkout against immigration policies threatening the safety of their families and neighbors. These students are planning another action in this coming month, which proves what we see every day. that students in District 4 work hard for each other and work hard for our community. Students in District 4 understand that our community is only as strong as its most vulnerable members. They're practicing the highest form of civic citizenship by refusing to stay silent when their families are at risk.
But beyond the governmental commissions, the climate plans, and the walkouts, there's something else. Something harder to measure, but just as powerful. It's the way that young people show up for each other every single day. The student who stays up late to help a friend through a crisis, the peer mentorship that happens in the hallways, and the daily acts of support and kindness that keep our community running. Youth are doing amazing and impressive things across the district, but our greatest contribution might be the heart that we put in our neighborhoods.
Young people in District 4 and the county in general are great at doing something so necessary in our current tense political climate. We're able to find common ground and create space for genuine, productive conversations every single day, in our clubs, on our sports teams, in our commissions. We bridge differences that adults often can't. We listen to perspectives that challenge us. We build coalitions across lines that seem impossible to cross. We're ready to bring that spirit of collaboration to every level. We want real access to the opportunities this valley is famous for. We want policymakers to actively include us in the room. We just need you to let us. Youth engagement should be treated as essential. When you're making decisions about mental health services, housing policy, climate action, education funding, bring us into the room early, not as an afterthought. Young people in the district have proven they can handle it through the work they've already done. We're not just students, we're the volunteers, the friends, the activists, and the leaders making District 4 a true home today.
So here's what we need you to hear today. Youth aren't just the future of this county, we're active participants in its present. We're not just idealistic dreamers waiting for a turn. We're researchers, advocates, organizers, and community builders already shaping District 4 today. But we can't do it alone. We need you, our elected officials, our community leaders, our neighbors, to trust that when we speak, we're bringing insight grounded in experience and perspective. We need you to give us that seat at the table, not as a symbolic gesture, but as a genuine partnership. So Supervisor Ellenberg, thank you for championing our voice and recognizing that youth involvement makes our home stronger. To the residents of District 4, thank you for making this place a home worth fighting for. We are a land of contradictions, yes, but we are also a land of immense and radical hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Youth Task Force. Our next speaker tonight is someone who understands the power of our youth, education, and opportunity. Albert Gonzalez has long been a champion for students and families in our community. Through his leadership on the Santa Clara County Unified School Board and currently on the City of Santa Clara County, I keep saying county, City Council, he has worked to ensure that young people not only have access to strong educational foundations, but also the support systems that allow them to thrive. Please join me in welcoming Albert Gonzalez.
Good evening, buenas noches. So it's definitely a privilege for me to be up here. It's actually kind of a full circle. When I first got to the South Bay, I lived down the street on the other side of the train tracks. I still consider it Willow Glen, but it was by the Gardner Center here, right next to the VTA stop, which made it easy for me to get to my work in North San Jose. But definitely a privilege to be here and grateful for the opportunity to share a little bit about me and some of the things that we've worked on. My name is Albert Gonzalez, and I'm currently sit as a council member this year, vice mayor for the city of Santa Clara. And I also got the privilege to serve as the 2024 president for the California School Board Association, which oversaw about 1,000 school districts in the state and represented the board members of those districts. But long before I imagined holding those roles, long before I served on committees, chaired boards, or advocated for us at the state level, I was just a kid trying to find my way and place as I saw the shifting earth beneath me. I was born in the city of Los Angeles to parents who met there from Mexico. My dad and mom had a second and third grade education, but they carried with them a belief that education was the path forward, the path to stability and opportunity. When I was in first grade, we relocated to Concord, so I mainly grew up in the East Bay. But by the time I was in fourth grade, I had attended 7 different elementary schools. That movement teaches you a lot. It teaches you how to adapt, how to listen, and how to read people. But it also teaches you something deeper. Schools are often the first community a child ever knows. When you're a new kid over and over again, you learn to appreciate the teachers who take that moment to welcome you, the classmates that invite you in, and the staff who learn your name. Those experiences shaped me. They grounded me in the belief that public education is not just a system, it's a lifeline. If the foundation which builds strong communities. I graduated from Concord High School and went on to Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, where I earned my BS in electrical engineering. That opened the door for me here in Silicon Valley, where I moved here to San Jose and eventually settled in Santa Clara. There I served 16 years on the school board, and it's really public education that got me through everything. It was that vital role in my life, that vital piece was indispensable in the lives, and it is indispensable in the lives of millions of students across our state. I am the living proof that all students can succeed when they are supported, believed in, and given the access to opportunity. In 2008, I was elected to the Santa Clara Unified School Board of Trustees. I got to serve as board president and served on many different committees, such as the English Learners Committee and the city liaison committees. We have 3 different cities that the district really is a part of. I also co-chaired the 2018 Measure BB bond, which passed overwhelmingly and brought $720 million of general obligation bonds for facilities, which helped build McDonald High School there. And it's actually in North San Jose, but it's part of Santa Clara Unified. That campaign was a reminder of what communities can accomplish when they believe in their schools and invest in their future. But titles and roles only matter if they reflect service. Service to students, service to families, to educators, and the communities that rely on public schools as a backbone of opportunity. The community I represent is diverse, resilient, and deeply committed to the belief that every child deserves a chance to thrive. It is meaningful to me because it reflects my own story, a story of movement, of adaptation, and of hope with the transformative power of education. And yes, even in Silicon Valley, the global center of innovation, we see inequities that remind us how much work remains. The digital divide is real. It was always there, but the COVID pandemic, made it impossible to ignore. We have neighborhoods where cell coverage is minimal, where carriers differ in their ability to provide service, where students struggle to connect to the very tools that define modern learning. When we talk about uplifting students and families and educators, we are talking about addressing these inequities head on. We are talking about ensuring that every student, regardless of their circumstance, has the access to the resources they need to succeed. We are talking about supporting families and partners in education. We're talking about giving educators the respect, tools, and stability they deserve. But there is another truth that we must acknowledge. We cannot do this work alone. Not as school board members, not as city leaders, or as county officials, not as educators or parents or advocates. The challenges facing our students do not fit neatly into organizational charts or jurisdictional boundaries. And yet too often, our systems operate in silos, each doing their best, but rarely doing it together. We want to build stronger communities. We must build stronger partnerships. We must collaborate across agencies, across local governments, across sectors. We must share data, share strategies, and share responsibility, because a child's life does not begin and end at the schoolhouse door. Their well-being is shaped by housing, transportation, by the access of healthcare and after-school programs, by safe neighborhoods, and the stability of their families. This is why I deeply appreciate the leadership of Santa Clara County Supervisor Susan Ellenberg, who has always focused her efforts on prioritizing children. She led an effort in the past to secure $15 million for the Child Care and Early Education Infrastructure Grant Program, an investment that strengthens the very foundation our children rely on. She reminds us that education is not an isolated issue, It is a center of everything. It is a thread that weaves together economic mobility, public health, community safety, and long-term prosperity. When we embrace that truth, collaboration stops being optional, it becomes essential. My 3 children are a testament of what strong public schools can make possible. My oldest went to MIT, my 2 younger ones went to Santa Clara University. The youngest one is still there, he's a junior. And this is not a reflection only of their hard work, but it reflects on the teachers, counselors, coaches, and community members who supported them along the way. This is why I do this work. This is why I believe so deeply in the mission of public education. And it is why I remain committed to building a future where every child, no matter their background or zip code, has the opportunity to succeed. As I stand here today, I'm grateful to my parents who believed in education even though they did not have the ability or opportunity to achieve their dream in education. Grateful to the teachers who welcomed me through 7 elementary schools. Grateful to the community that trusted me to serve. And grateful to all of you, that the educators, trustees, city council members, and community members who make California and help California students every day. Together, we're building something powerful, something that's going to shape the future, and together, collaboratively, and what was the motto? Showing up for everyone, yeah. I didn't know that was, but really this is what it talks about, showing up for everybody every day, right? And as we invest in education, it really shows who we are and brings out the best of us. Thank you, and thank you, Supervisor Ellenberg, for all the work you've done.
Thank you very much, Albert. Next, I am honored to introduce our next speaker, Ann Souza. Ann is a dedicated community leader in Campbell. She understands that meaningful progress happens when residents, local organizations, and government partners work together towards shared goals. She reminds us that leadership is not just about vision, it's about engagement. It's about listening, it's about showing up. Please join me in welcoming Ann Souza.
I was wondering what picture they were going to use up there, and I love that picture. Oh, that has so much meaning for me. Maybe I'll have time to share. I'm Ann Souza. I grew up in Santa Clara, went through elementary school. Junior high was the last graduating class of Patrick Henry Junior High, and now I reside in Campbell. I've been there 12 years with my husband, who grew up in Campbell. So District 4 is home to us. Outside of a little bit, I'm a full-time manager for a small business, California Sports Center. I've been there 26 years. And then I have a lot of volunteer experience, mostly with the City of Campbell. I had 5 years on the Civic Improvement Commission, and then I was on the Campbell Village Neighborhood Association Board. I was president for 3 years and communications person for 3 years. And I previously was on the Campbell CERT Board and neighborhood lead. And then I am currently a commissioner for the first 5 of Santa Clara County, representing District 4. And I just spent the last 3 years as the chair. I've been Campbell Union High School District Work Experience Advisory Board, that's a mouthful, 10 plus years because of all the high school students that I hire. And then I'm currently the president of the Junior League of San Jose, finishing up my 2nd year. I have 4 months left of my presidency. And then I am the chair of the Measure O Oversight Committee for Campbell, which is the building of the library and the police station, which I'm very passionate about. And I learned a lot about the library when I was on the Civic Improvement Commission. I represent Campbell and who I am in Campbell. I'm a renter. 50% of Campbell residents rent. And I've been told that the City of Campbell is a well-oiled machine because of its volunteers. everything fun that happens in Campbell is because of the volunteers. So I'm grateful to all the volunteers and getting me involved in that too. And then running a small business, we do a lot of partnering. We're just outside of Campbell, so we do partner with the small businesses in Campbell. It's really vital to our area. And as the president of Junior League, I represent our members, and our mission is to advance women's leadership for meaningful community impact through volunteer action, collaboration, and training, which is what we're all talking about tonight. And then children are my passion. So I represent the children of our area, both in my work and being on the commission of the First Five of Santa Clara County. What does it mean to be involved in my community? It means showing up and paying attention, caring about what happens to the people around me. And it's more than just living in the same place, it's choosing to contribute in meaningful, consistent ways. How did I get involved? When we moved to Campbell, I wanted to know my neighbors. And then there was a note on my door saying, come to a neighborhood association meeting. Oh, this sounds like fun. So I went, and it was very informative, and I learned about the local elections that were happening. A few months later, I saw on next door, hey, we're looking for somebody to do the social media. Okay, I'm not really that great at social media, but I'm like, well, I want to be on the board, so here's my chance. This is my way in. So everything that I've done and led up to is like, okay, I don't know how to do that yet, but I will learn. And that's been my path. And so when I was on the board, I learned all about how we just became annexed into Campbell, that we were unincorporated before, and learned a lot. And then we went to a city council meeting because we were not represented, didn't have a representative on the general plan, so we went to complain. Went to that city council meeting, got hooked. I was like, oh, wow, this is great, this is awesome. And in that, they had an announcement for an opening on the Civic Improvement Commission. Okay, I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna research it, I'm gonna look it up, and I interviewed and I got on that commission, which is where I learned about the library. And so when Measure O came about, that I felt it was really important to advocate for that and to get that measure to pass. And then, of course, after it passed, then I felt this need to see it through and be on the oversight committee. My involvement doesn't just, in my neighborhood, well, sort of in my neighborhood, because Campbell CERT, I was the neighborhood lead. And then asked to be on the board because that's what, you're on one board commission, then you get asked to do others. But I learned on that board really about neighbors helping neighbors and looking out for our neighbors. And that was such a wonderful experience for me, and to take everything that I learned. I learned how to, there's so many things I learned about emergency preparedness that I never thought I would, and I'm glad I'm prepared now. Then on the, through CERT and First Five of Santa Clara County and Junior League, they were all doing their strategic plans within an 18-month period. So I know how to do a strategic plan now because of all of the volunteer work I've done on those committees, and I felt that was very valuable work. And community involvement is also about listening and understanding different perspectives. And let me tell you, those meetings, definitely different perspectives. But you need to respect shared spaces and work collaboratively to solve problems. And when I'm involved, I'm not just benefiting my community, I'm helping shape it. Community creates connection, and it turns strangers into neighbors and neighbors into a strong, supportive network. And the value of civic engagement, connection, and service, my experience with the Junior League of San Jose sits right at the intersection of connection, civic leadership, and community. And these essential elements, they are very essential to meaningful civic engagement and service. Connection is foundational. True leaders build relationships that inspire collaboration and create opportunities to improve the lives around them. Through my volunteer work, I've seen how strong connections empower individuals to share ideas, support one another, and drive collective impact. My connections, it's nice to see when they meet all together and they intersect. I'll be in one example was I got invited to the opening of the Bill Wilson's Family Resource Center. And I went, I got that invitation as the president of Junior League, and I go there, and it's a First Five Family Resource Center. And so my two lives had intersected. And it happens a lot when you get involved in community, and you see a lot of the same people, and you share that connection and that desire to help your community. Civic leadership means embracing responsible citizenship and proactively seeking to understand community challenges. The volunteering has strengthened my ability to stay informed, engaged thoroughly, thoughtfully, and contribute to solutions that address real needs. And community is where connection and leadership come to life. I've learned how to identify pressing issues and collaborate with community partners to create sustainable, mission-aligned solutions. These experiences have reinforced my commitment to service and demonstrated how empowered we can be and create lasting positive change. And I just want to say how grateful I am that I was appointed to the Santa Clara County Commission for First Five, and what I've learned on that commission. It has been so valuable to me. So I want to thank Susan Ellenberg for appointing me to that commission, and also recognize all of our, the City of Campbell, City of Santa Clara, places where that I've grown up.
Thank you very much, Anne. It is now my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Edward Saum. Ed has been a consistent and thoughtful voice in our community. He has been a longtime member of the Shasta-Hanchett Park Neighborhood Association, the Alameda Business Association, and many more. Ed's work reflects a belief that local leadership matters, that informed residents matter. He represents the kind of engagement that strengthens trust between community and government, and that strengthens us all. Please join me in welcoming Edward Saum.
Well, thank you, Maren, for that kind introduction, and thank you to Supervisor Ellenberg for having me here this evening. My name is Edward Saum. If you're here tonight, I don't need to tell you about the value of community engagement. I mean, you're in a high school theater on a rainy weekday evening in February break. You already know that one of the single most important things we can do as good citizens is to engage with our neighbors and local businesses. Staying informed about and contributing to both is how we strengthen our communities and enrich our lives. I joined the Board of Directors for the Shasta-Hanchett Park Neighborhood Association in 2015. As an architect by training and a planning geek by choice, I wanted to help cultivate the relationship between our residents, local businesses, and elected officials. Towards that end, I've been the association's planning and land use director for the last 11 years, and its president for 6 of those years. The correlation between local businesses and community health isn't just a feel-good sentiment. It's a documented economic and sociological fact. When local businesses thrive, they create a positive feedback loop that transforms a place to live into a true community. One type of local business that can readily bring residents together is a farmer's market. In mid-2017, the Shipna Board dedicated itself to bringing a market back to the neighborhood. Our residents overwhelmingly chose Lincoln High School as the preferred location. What we needed was an advocate within the San Jose Unified School District, somebody with a strong sense of community and a vested interest in the prosperity of local schools and local businesses. As fate would have it, just such an individual, a longtime Shipna resident, was the current school district trustee for our area. Her name was Susan Ellenberg. As Shipna president at the time, I happily signed the donation check for the initial permit fees, and on May 5th, 2018, the farmers market opened. The market will be celebrating its 8th year in 2026, and it came about because the neighborhood association, our residents, local businesses, local schools, and our elected officials worked together towards a common goal. Sociologists often point to local businesses as the connective tissue of a community. Some of you may be familiar with the term of third places, coffee shops, bookstores, etc., places to gather distinct from home and work. These local businesses are where people can interact, share news, and build trust. It gives the neighborhood its soul, if you will. The distinct character that attracts tourism and makes residents feel a sense of pride and belonging. The most dynamic neighborhoods in San Jose have a strong corridor of these third places at their center. Local shops and eateries that can help to prioritize walking over driving, making the corridor itself a destination rather than one specific business. The ability to easily patronize local shops before or after a meal is a tangible health benefit for neighborhood residents and a boon for small businesses. Making a street as pedestrian-friendly as possible is perhaps the single most important part of this synergy. In the early 2010s, the Alameda was the southern terminus of State Road 82, and anybody who's familiar with it, it was a decidedly less than pedestrian-friendly thoroughfare. Founded in 1981, the Alameda Business Association has been a tireless advocate for the growth and prosperity of small businesses along the Alameda. The Rose, White, and Blue Parade, which began in 2008 as a local decorated bicycle event, quickly became a major Bay Area tradition. While individual events can be a great draw, local business corridors need daily vibrance and a regular presence from the surrounding residents to truly thrive. The state's willingness to transfer the portion of State Road 82 south of I-880 to local control offered just such an opportunity. When the change was complete in 2013, SHPNA and the ABA worked with the city of San Jose to enhance the beautiful way with wider sidewalks, planters, medians, bulb outs, and additional crosswalks. With these changes, events like SHPNA's annual beer and wine walk, Stroll the Alameda, helped prove that the Alameda could be a pedestrian-friendly destination without closing the street. The large number of artist studios and eclectic shops along the Alameda and Ray Street were able to draw in more local residents during events like the ABA's Second Saturdays. These changes also helped drive the creation of the Alameda Urban Village, one of the city's first and the only one with tangible historic preservation verbiage included therein. After hundreds of man-hours spent in community meetings, it went to City Council in December 2016. During one of the council's infamous marathon sessions, I stood at the podium at 11:45 p.m. that night, wearing this exact sweater, I think, speaking as a resident, local business owner, and SHPNA's planning and land use director to make clear that this collaboration of residents, business owners, and city staff should be approved as submitted. While comprehensive planning documents are important, the willingness of community members to engage with and support individual local businesses is paramount. When Teeny Tie suffered a devastating fire in 2012, current and former SHPNA board members stepped up. A fundraiser at its sister restaurant helped raise money for the rebuild, while board members with practical knowledge of the city's sometimes labyrinthine permitting process helped guide them to completion. Teeny Tie reopened in 2014, bigger and better than ever, with twice the seating capacity and a menu that remains my teenage daughter's go-to for special occasions. In addition to helping existing businesses thrive, community engagement in the development process can be equally as vital. Not for the sake of NIMBYism or by micromanaging every detail, but to create a project that serves both existing residents and our new neighbors. Working with a local developer, who was also a regular presence at SHPNA events, the community helped shape Madera the Alameda. Most folks know that as the place immediately adjacent to Whole Foods on the Alameda. Residents emphasized the importance of community-serving commercial spaces in the ground floor. The developer listened and spent an extra year in permitting so he could accommodate the Diridon Ace Hardware. Think about that, an extra year to accommodate a tenant because he knew it was something that the community would benefit from having. A walkable local option instead of a 4-mile drive has been a benefit to local residents and those who work nearby. This only happened because local residents and business owners engaged with a willing partner to seek a mutually beneficial solution. Research shows that small businesses, almost went to a different document. Give me 1 second. Apologize. Oh, for grabs. There we go. Sorry about that. Research shows that small business owners are more likely to be involved in local government, sit on not-profit boards, and donate to local charities. This kind of decades-long partnership between the Alameda Business Association and SHPNA is what led me to join the board of the ABA in 2021. A thriving business corridor along the Alameda and Ray Street is a benefit to all, making the synergy between the two organizations something worth embracing. Commercial corridors face their own economic and social challenges. In 2010, Willow Glen implemented the city's first community-based improvement district, or CBID. A CBID raises money from local property owners to supply stable, dedicated funding for enhanced services. In 2025, with guidance and support from Councilmember Mulcahy, the City of San Jose partnered with the ABA to create a CBID on the Alameda to provide clean and safe streets and a beautification beyond what the city can provide with its normal level of funding. Enhancing the business corridor within an established residential community both attracts more businesses and increases pedestrian traffic to existing shops and eateries. As ABA Secretary, I work with the newly established CBID committee to put the funds to their best possible use so that commercial property owners, local businesses, and residents can help one another thrive. When it came time for Shipman and the ABA to redo their websites, both organizations turned to a small company whose founders both live and work in the neighborhood. Odds are you'll find them dining on the Alameda a couple times a week. Similarly, I long ago lost count about how many times I've seen Susan and Steve dining on the Alameda. When you walk the talk and let your actions directly reflect your call for residents to embrace local businesses, that's how each and every one of us can help our community grow. For that reason, and for so many more, I'd like to thank Supervisor Ellenberg, Steve, and their entire family for leading by example. Like many others here, I'm self-aware enough to know how fortunate we are to have such engaged, passionate representation. In closing, I know your favorite lines of my whole speech, I'll make one request of the engaged residents here this evening. Learn from your predecessors, teach your successors, and embrace this remarkable area that we're all fortunate enough to call home. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ed. Next, I would like to introduce our headliner for this evening. Supervisor Susan Ellenberg has showed up for Willow Glen. She showed up to present to our association about how the county is helping with the homelessness crisis. She showed up to share with our neighborhood about how the county is making tough decisions needed to balance the budget with the HR 1 cuts. She's even showed up for coffee to have conversations about our residents' concerns. I know she showed up in your neighborhoods in District 4 too. Supervisor Ellenberg has been showing up so much that she's just been elected president of the California State Association of Counties. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Supervisor Susan Ellenberg.
If we can get through this evening with nobody tripping up or down these treacherous steps, it will be an awesome success. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me on this rainy Wednesday evening. And if you're feeling a little bit of deja vu, yes, it was also a dark and stormy night when we gathered last year in Campbell for this very same event. Thank you to the Willow Glen community for hosting us, especially Willow Glen High, my husband's alma mater. Go Rams. I want to extend a special appreciation to the community leaders who shared their stories with us tonight. Thank you to Councilmember Gonzalez, WGNA President Marin for being our MC as well as sharing your story. The Youth Task Force members, super powerful. Ed Salm from Shasta Hanchett, and Campbell Village Neighborhood Association, and my sister commissioner at First 5 Santa Clara, and Souza, for helping make tonight's program so special and really making this a state of the entire district. And to my team, the D4 office, for your tremendous work, not just on this evening's programs, but for your work all year long. Biased or not, I work with an absolute dream team. Tonight is about coming together as a community, celebrating our successes of the past year, acknowledging where we are today, and looking with hope and determination at the road ahead. the relentless drumbeat of fear-mongering and the attempts to divide people in every corner of this nation continues to be exhausting. And yet, every time those in power try to wear down the people who stand up for their neighbors, something stronger rises in response. Our collective resolve, our commitment to justice and equity, our refusal to look away, and our genuine care for our neighbors' well-being. We show up for one another. We cut through the noise by standing together, by refusing to let fear or hate dictate who we are or how we treat the people around us. We have seen this through our folks in Willow Glen with groups like Art House Studios showing up for youth and transforming their lives through art. We've seen this in Campbell, where our local business corridors and chambers of commerce not only bring community together through celebrations, but also look out for one another and help their neighbors who need additional support. And we've seen this in Santa Clara, where residents like Mary Grizzle, who I am certain must be here somewhere tonight, bring people together, all in the hopes of creating a foundation for a community to thrive. And if the rising tension and the manufactured conflict weren't enough, the federal government's monumental cuts to well-established and largely popular funding streams that have been the bedrock of how we have delivered healthcare and safety net services for decades are being dismantled. Systems of care that save lives and keep our entire community safe and healthy, whether we are direct recipients of service or not, are crumbling before our eyes. These cuts are forcing hard decisions. They demand creativity and require persistence from all of us. But before I spiral too far down that rabbit hole of despair and frustration, let's talk about hope and successes. I want to look back at the prior year, our real progress, meaningful wins, and the many, many moments that remind us that even in difficult times, when we stay focused on the people and grounded in our values, we can continue to move our community forward. So let's do just that. To absolutely no one's surprise, I will start by highlighting where we have succeeded in supporting children and families over the past year. Building a community that supports children from the very start is always at the heart of everything I do, and in 2025, that commitment took many forms. We expanded home visiting services, leveraging untapped Medi-Cal funds, allowing more families with newborns to receive support during those earliest, most vulnerable days when guidance, reassurance, and connection matter so much. We celebrated the opening of the Hub at Parkmore in Meridian, a beautiful new development here in D4 that includes 81 affordable apartments, half of which are reserved for young adults transitioning out of the foster care system, and the rest for other low-income households, along with a community center offering on-site resources, programs, and services. 2025 also saw a 2% increase in the children's budget to ensure that even throughout these tumultuous budget times and forecasts, our youth and those who work tirelessly to support them will not slip through the cracks. When we spend less on prevention and early intervention, we will inevitably spend so much more later on deep-end, expensive supports for people who have experienced severe harm, trauma, and loss. Dollars invested in children and families' well-being pays dividends every single time. I will continue to emphasize that of all the prevention dollars that can be invested, there is no better return than on childcare as a public good. This is the foundation for a stable and healthy community because childcare simultaneously lifts young families out of poverty, prevents homelessness, adds to consumer spending in the local economy, helps employers retain employees and boost productivity, and makes it possible for young families to remain in our cities. Doesn't matter if you don't have kids or if you don't like kids. It is in all of our interest that quality childcare be broadly affordable and accessible, and I will not back down on my efforts to identify ongoing funding for this sector. Thank you. The theme of stability carries through every avenue of work that is done at the county. It is the baseline for long-lasting success. And when we talk about stability, housing is certainly the next critical pillar. Housing stability remains one of the defining challenges of our region. Since 2020, the county has increased our homelessness prevention capacity by 65%, reaching roughly 2,500 households in 2025. This work has been validated by MIT and other researchers as statistically significant. Why is that? Because our programs treat people with dignity and holistically. We see individuals not as data points, but as human beings with their own histories, traumas, and hopes. This approach is not simply compassionate, it's effective. And we know that preventing people from losing their housing costs a teeny fraction of what it takes to get them back into housing, real housing, not emergency shelters. Despite the fact that the 2016 Measure A dollars have financed more than 6,000 permanent supportive housing units and other affordable options, it is so hard to appreciate that impact in real time because we haven't fully stemmed the tide of people who are losing their housing and continue to lose housing in this ever increasingly expensive market. Please don't be fooled. Please don't be lulled into believing that reducing unsheltered homelessness is truly solving the very real crisis. That phrase itself, to me, indicates an intention to camouflage human beings, not to truly solve for the tragedy of homelessness that results from a decades-long extreme underbuilding of affordable housing. Bringing people inside, out of the elements, absolutely has to be a part of our strategy, but it cannot be the strategy. In addition to Measure A dollars, the county has embraced other tools to help young families regain housing. Back in 2021, I co-led a new at the time campaign called Heading Home. And through that effort, we have used 1,200 emergency housing vouchers to help families with infants and toddlers find permanent homes. We have permanently housed more than 2,500 families and provided more than 5,000 children help through prevention, rapid rehousing, or shelter services. When families have stable childcare and secure housing, they gain the foundation that they need to thrive. So with that foundation in place, we then have to focus on strengthening the overall health and well-being of our community. In 2022, with the support of Supervisor Lee, I declared a public health crisis around severe mental illness and substance use disorders. And by 2025, the impact of that declaration has become very clear. Since 2022, the county has added more than 260 new inpatient behavioral health beds, expanding our capacity to serve up to 3,000 additional patients every year. This progress brings us nearly halfway to our goal of 530 beds by 2030. We also opened the COMPASS Clinic. COMPASS is an acronym for Compassionate Addiction Services and Support Clinic on the Valley Med Center campus on Bascom. This clinic provides same-day access to substance use disorder care. Walk-ins are welcome, no appointments, no referrals are needed, and we are anticipating that this clinic will serve between 400 and 600 patients annually, ensuring that support is available on the day it is desired. The COMPASS Clinic reflects what we know works: services that meet people where they are, reduce stigma, and offer personalized care that fits each individual's life and needs. All these things that I'm talking about, preventing trauma from the beginning, ensuring families have access to stable housing and childcare, alleviating generational poverty, expanding access to mental health care and substance use disorder services, these are the building blocks for community safety. Real safety is built through a broad range of services and investments, both within and beyond the traditional criminal legal system. When those very human needs are not met, we tend to see more people being alleged to cause harm to themselves and to others. And historically, communities across the US have looked to incarceration not necessarily as a means of temporarily incapacitating someone with an eye toward rehabilitation and opportunities for success when they return to their home communities, but as really acceptably horrible places where trauma is exacerbated and people often leave in worse shape than they entered, and that makes us less safe. I bore all of these factors in mind when we began a technical assessment of our jail facilities as the county continues to operate under 2 court orders to improve conditions. We as a county and as a community will not find success through our legal system unless our facilities reflect the level of care that we say we want to provide. Rehabilitation and preparation for successful reentry must begin the moment someone is confined in our facilities. Treating incarcerated individuals with dignity, knowing that every person is more than the sum of the worst harm they have caused, and frankly, knowing they will be back among us when their time in jail or prison has been served. And third, safety for the people who work in carceral facilities and a culture that does not reward toxic behavior by any individual, whether they are working in or confined in a county facility. To take that commitment further, we launched community engagement conversations focused on what new or refurbished facilities should look like to support positive outcomes when people leave custody. Punishment is the separation from community and the elimination of many personal freedoms. The notion that punishment should be perpetuated by dungeon-like conditions in which someone is confined is frankly short-sighted, and it's unproductive, and it will not make us safer in the long run. And to make that argument, I would say look no farther than the national recidivism rates to convince you that we are not doing the best we can in terms of promoting and maintaining public safety within the US current system of incarceration. This always gets me into another passionate rant, so I'm going to quickly pivot and remind you all that, as I mentioned at the beginning of this speech, the federal funding cuts have created an existential challenge across our county, but nowhere more pronounced than in our county hospital system. So let's talk about that. You, the voters, stepped in and said that access to health care was worth saving by passing Measure A. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for that. So now it's time to show you why that measure is so essential. Just one powerful example. After 5 years, labor and delivery services have been restored at Regional Medical Center in East San Jose, bringing care back to that community. Having that service accessible, timely, and close to where the most babies are actually being born in our county is exactly why we stand behind our hospital system and remain committed to sustaining life-saving services. This commitment extends across our entire system, from our nationally recognized burn and trauma centers to the Sobrato Cancer Center, the PACE Clinic, and so many other specialized facilities that make our health and hospital system one of the strongest, not only in the region, but across the entire state. Our effort to provide specialized care has always gone beyond baseline services and has inspired me, frankly, to uplift the needs of populations who have historically been left behind in healthcare. This is part of why I helped to establish and support Santa Clara County's Black Maternal Health Week. And we've got our Black Infant Health Program folks over here. Thank you for being here. We continue to focus on reducing mortality and morbidity among Black mamas and infants whose negative outcomes far outpace any other racial or ethnic group, even when accounting for education levels and socioeconomic status. Last year's Perinatal Equity Conference drew more than 420 attendees, and my office was pleased to sponsor a Black Infant Health Week film screening that brought together leaders and advocates from across the county, including executives from private hospitals across the county, to keep this urgent work front and center. In the wake of the federal purge of all things DEI, please know that this work will remain a priority for me. I am here for all the babies and all the mamas. So, now that you have heard a bunch of things about how I spent 2025 as a policymaker and a fiscal steward, let me say a little bit about what these commitments will look like as we move into 2026, a year that will be as financially unprecedented in recent memory as 2020 was unprecedented from a public and individual health perspective. And being completely transparent, I have to say, nothing is going to be easy for the foreseeable future. The values for which our county stands are in no way reflected by those of the federal administration. The administration exhibits open hostility toward residents who require any type of care or exhibit any sort of vulnerability. They stoke fear and disseminate misinformation, and ultimately intentionally aim to sow chaos and dismantle the infrastructure of government support for vulnerable residents. And while I will freely admit that our social infrastructure in this country is far from perfect, and in many ways far inferior to the social fabric of many other countries, it certainly provides a lifeline for millions of Americans. So, in this county, our three-pronged approach to respond to the callous actions of the federal government has already begun. Measure A was the first prong, so now we move to the second and third. The second is making our budget more transparent and efficient. I'll say more about that. And the third is uplifting the voices of California counties to ensure that the state of California is listening and understands the urgency of stepping in to backfill much of that support. My colleague Supervisor Abe Koga and I have begun examining our budget process to rework and reimagine how to make more apparent how funds are used and how we can more efficiently utilize the resources that we do have. And to keep it real, the hard decisions began at our mid-year budget meeting last week. There is more to come, but I am not here to spread fear. I am here to lay out the foundation of what that forecast looks like. As an organization, we have long emphasized meeting people where they are and expanding access to vital, often life-saving services. That commitment will remain steady. and it will guide how we evaluate every decision, every program, every dollar in front of us. While the current reality truly limits our ability to expand or introduce new services, we can and must be intentional and thoughtful about how we sustain what we already have. These are not simply operational shifts. These will be decisions with real human impact, and that gravity deserves our full attention, our care, and discipline. Here's a note of grounded optimism. The broader federal and financial landscape we are navigating today will not remain this way forever. While some priority areas at the county will face strain, our task is to determine which services can be temporarily restructured, slowed, or even halted, while preserving the strongest possible foundation and a clear pathway to restoration and growth when conditions improve. If we stay anchored in our mission, transparent in our communication, and disciplined in our choices, we can move through this process with integrity and with purpose. That is a standard that we owe our communities and truly every single one of you. Let me talk about that third prong a little bit, which is advocacy. This will be a year of telling our story, telling the county story, showcasing accomplishments, and showing the California legislature and the governor's administration that counties deliver services that directly impact people's lives. In my role as president of the California State Association of Counties, I will take our county's story and our values and unite all 58 counties to demonstrate that whether we are rural or urban, coastal or landlocked, the needs of the people we represent are not so different, and that a united voice can make change that benefits all Californians, including those of us here in Santa Clara County. The core of the message that I'll deliver, regardless of the policy or subject matter, is that as an administrative arm of the state, counties are mandated to comply with the new laws that are signed every year. When those new laws direct us to provide more services or create new programs, but don't come with funding for implementation, even the most well-intended legislation may not at all be impactful, or worse, could have adverse impacts. When the state views counties as the operational partners we are, and we work together on programs, services, and funding streams that actually have positive impact, everyone can feel invested in the successes that will come. And I just want to shout out the number of our state legislators, representatives who are here this evening. I know your bosses are in Sacramento, but the fact that you are here demonstrates the value of that partnership, and just want you to know that I'm very grateful for that. Counties need funding that is ongoing. We can't plan for affordable housing, alleviating homelessness, expanding mental health access, or other major social challenges when funds are allocated on a one-time basis each year. We need flexibility to fund programs that meet the unique needs of our residents, and we are happy to be held accountable to clear, achievable expectations. As I said at the outset of my remarks, tonight is a celebration, and the hard truths I've shared do not and will not diminish the victories we have seen as a community, nor will they take away from the successes that will surely come in our future. You have all shown up tonight, and I believe that every one of you will continue to show up for your community, your neighbors, and our county. And that alone fills me with great confidence that even in the heart of the storm, we will find a way to endure. Thank you again for coming tonight. Thank you for being part of your community. Thank you for, frankly, for caring and for showing up. Together, we can continue to go from strength to strength. Thank you. It looks like Maren is going to close us out. I hope you will stay around to visit the resource tables, have some more food, and I'm delighted to have conversation and answer questions.
Thank you very much, Susan. Before I close, I want to begin with gratitude. Thank you to Supervisor Ellenberg for your leadership and for consistently showing up for District 4. Thank you to the speakers and volunteers who shared their time and their stories tonight. Thank you to our community partners and county staff who work behind the scenes every day to turn ideas into action. And thank you to every resident and attendee here this evening. Your presence matters. At the end of the day, the strength of our district isn't found in any single office or individual. It's found in our community. When neighbors listen to one another, when local organizations and county government work side by side, and when we choose collaboration over division, we build solutions that last. My commitment is to keep showing up, working together, and ensuring every voice helps shape the future we share. Tonight, we've heard about programs, priorities, and plans. Those matter. They guide us. But what truly brings them to life is participation. It's the volunteer who gives up a Saturday morning for a cleanup. It's the resident who speaks up at a meeting. It's the neighbor who checks in during a difficult time. It's the county staff member who always stays late to solve a problem. That's what showing up for each other looks like. Showing up doesn't always mean doing something big. Often it's something small and consistent. It's staying engaged. It's asking questions. It's offering solutions. It's choosing to be part of the answer. Our district is strong because of the relationships in this room between neighbors and nonprofits, between businesses and schools, between residents and county government. When those relationships grow, trust grows. And when trust grows, progress follows. As we leave tonight, I hope we carry this energy forward. Stay involved, stay connected, stay curious about how you can contribute, because the future of District 4 won't be shaped by any one speech or any one initiative. It will be shaped by all of us, showing up again and again for each other. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for continuing to show up for this community we all care so deeply about.